Hi, I'm Lisa Bagshaw. Welcome to Bold Leaps, the show that interviews creative, inspiring, successful people about the risks they've taken to pursue their dreams. And today's guest is internationally acclaimed screenwriter Rebecca Sommi Fisher. Growing up in Vancouver as a little girl, Beck used to love to stay up late watching the Oscars, enthralled not only by the glamorous actors, but by the brilliant writing of the scripts. She fantasized that one day she would be up there winning an award for being a feature film writer. As she got older, she realized her love of film was a passion, and she set out to pursue that passion with a goal to set the world on fire. As a young woman in her early 20s, she got her first real break. Someone believed in her, and she was commissioned to write her first sitcom. The sitcom was never produced, but it was this experience that made her not only believe she could do it, but now she knew she could do it. Knowing she had a knack for comedy writing, fueled by her persistence and tenacity, she knocked on so many doors in Vancouver, Australia, London, and LA, pitching so many scripts that she was notoriously called the Hustler. She recently got her first RomCom greenlit, but the road was arduous, long, and filled with rejection. What I wanted to know was what keeps you focused on your dream when pursuing the dream feels like a never-ending hustle. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, welcome. Good afternoon, good morning here.
Yes, good morning. Yes, welcome from Australia. This is quite the story. I just cannot wait to get into this story with you. You've taken so many risks as a screenwriter from such an early age, and there's just so many stories, but I think that the leap that I want to focus on in your case, the one that has, I think, the most learning to be gained from it is I think you were in London and you said out loud, I am a screenwriter. And it seemed like your world changed from that moment on. And I want to ask you, leading up to that point where you actually declared it and took ownership of it and committed to it, what was your life like as a working writer leading up to that point?
Well, I actually had to juggle 1,000,001 jobs, but I was just so obsessive compulsive with making writing, my full-time career. And, it's funny, people would always say to me, oh, when are you gonna get a real job? And I was like, no, this is my real job. And I was just so determined. But as you just said, it was the moment when I actually said out loud that I am a screenwriter. I feel like, without getting too spiritual, I think the universe really listens.
Well,
yeah,
I'm so fascinated by that. And before we get to that point, I'd love to know, how are you making your money for the years prior to that while you're pursuing your dream?
I did lots of little small modeling stints and little bit acting things. There's almost nothing I haven't done. I worked as a PA in banking. I've had so many jobs, it's actually comical. But I would always, and I also did a lot of script editing. So, and working for production companies where I, was a creative exec, and I had to take home 1,000 scripts a week to read. So I didn't sleep for many years. But I always came home at night and wrote, and there's probably not a weekend that's gone by since I was about 22 that I didn't write on my weekends. You
would pitch and pitch and pitch. Can you tell us more about that process?
Yeah, I was just so tenacious. I mean, probably annoyingly so. But even working in London when I was working as a PA, I would put in my diary, okay, this week, and in fact, every week, I need to meet 5 new producers. I need to contact 5 new people. And even when I had those meetings and I was so often rejected, I would say, okay, but wait, before you shut the door on me, you must know 5 other people that I could also talk to that might not reject me. So I just kept going and I kept pitching, and I just love it so much. I was determined.
Well, it sounds like you were determined, but it sounds like you had a real knowing inside that, and to the point that it sounds like you would almost do anything with your craft in order to just keep pitching.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. I think I've relayed this story to you before. When I was a little girl, I used to stand in front of the mirror when I think I was 6 or 7 at the time. And I would just stand there and rehearse my Oscar speech. And I don't know where this came from really, but I knew I wanted a big life and I knew I wanted to fulfill a dream. And I just fell in love with film from as early as I can remember. And I was so determined that no matter what it took, I would do it. And I just was obsessively compulsive. I lived and breathed film. I read every book you could possibly read. I just knew that, as you say, it was a knowing. It wasn't just a matter of believing. I just somehow knew.
That's incredible.
Maybe I was.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I knew, and I was also probably mildly delusional at how hard this industry is.
Well, yes, I've heard that. I think you said the industry is 99% rejection.
It really is, and I think, it's how I would sum up the film industry or any field in the arts. I think it's almost like, imagine the analogy of finally getting to the top of Everest and a little guy at the top says, "Oh, no, there's another Everest on top of this, and then you're probably going to be stuck in an ice storm. You also might get kicked down to base camp, but just keep going."
Oh my God, I don't know how you endured this. Tell me, in the moment that you actually made this proclamation, you made this commitment, you said it out loud for the first time, how did you feel?
I felt so, I guess, relieved. I felt, I'd always kind of made excuses. Initially I actually got into law school, and so I used to sort of be like, oh, I am still smart. Like I could do all these things, but I have this big dream, and it's just what I love so much. But once I actually stopped making excuses and saying, oh, like, this is my day job, but at night I write, and one day I'd really like to do this. I think when I finally said, no, this is my job and this is what I do, everything kind of conspired. I got my amazing management agency, HLA. I just started to slowly get work. And now we're filming my first film next year, which is so exciting.
It's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable story, and I can't wait to talk more about it. We have to take a break right now, but when we come back, I'm going to talk to Beck about how she handled herself in an industry that boasts, as I say, 99% rejection. Welcome back. Something that I want to revisit with you is you made the commitment, you said it out loud, you came to terms with it, you were going out on your own as a full-time screenwriter. How did you feel the next day when you woke up and you really had a whole new life in front of you?
Yeah, I felt relieved to actually say it out loud. I think I always made so many excuses and sort of kind of hid that I had this big dream, because I guess for a lot of people it's hard to understand because it's so all-consuming, and I was so tenaciously driven. But I think I just sort of felt like, no, I'm doing this. I'm not going to make excuses anymore. I'm not going to tell people, oh, I could always have a backup plan and go back to law, or people would say, maybe you should retrain. And I was like, no, I'm actually officially telling the world I'm a writer. And it's funny, the minute that happened, it all sort of fell into place. I think I declared it to myself as well as other people.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. When you say that it all fell into place, what did that look like?
For me, I was lucky enough to, on the back of one script, which is madness, but I'm so grateful. My fabulous agency, HLA Management, took me on. And I was like, wow, like someone's actually backing me for real. I'm not just in my head. And then, you know, bit by bit, I got more and more work. I wrote several scripts. And I finally, we got greenlit, well, almost. So we should be filming my first film next year, which is a beautiful rom-com.
Unbelievable. Now, you getting your agent was another one of these gigantic leaps on your part. Once again, proving your tenacity. Can you tell us about that leap?
Yeah, so I like as in how I got my agent, or
yeah,
well,
because you were very tenacious about that too, right?
Yeah, so I probably called and met with, I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of producers, and probably people that really had no business even wanting to talk to me because I hadn't really achieved much. But I was just so determined. And when I finally came back to Australia, I met this really beautiful, lovely producer. And she was like, Bex, I love your script and I'm going to help you get an agent. And so, look, I owe so much to her because I had someone to believe in me that helped me open the door. And that's how I then got my agency.
And congratulations on that. Now, when you were in that new zone, say, where you've now committed to this, to your craft 100%, did you struggle with anything like procrastination or discipline or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. There's this great line that, you know, you'll never find a cleaner sock drawer than a writer because you will literally do everything to avoid writing, even though we love it so much. I think there's always that anxiety of starting and, you know, the self-doubt. I've definitely gotten better. But, you know, procrastination is a tough one. But I think the key is, you know, you're never going to achieve something if you're not at that desk at 6 a.m. You know, you've just got to be there. And even if things don't come, it's about at least showing up every day and doing the work.
So is that how you overcame the feelings of procrastination and self-doubt, was just by working?
Yes, I think, you know, setting myself a really strict schedule, but also, you know, I'll tell you an amazing thing. There's nothing like a deadline to put fire underneath you. So that really helps. And, you know, now that I've gotten a lot busier and a producer or a director might want to see something in a week, I don't have a choice. And I think anxiety is quite a good life force. So that's definitely helped.
I think I heard a story that you said something about you actually you used to set false deadlines for yourself?
Yes, that's right. You remember that. Yeah, I would often do that to the point where I would, you know, tenaciously write every single day. I have to have achieved 10 pages today. And, you know, even if it's just small bits, but I would always be, you know, very vigilant with, you know, my big wall calendar. And at the end of that week or the end of that month, I had to have ticked off a certain thing. And I'm quite superstitious. So I sort of put myself into my own fear of if I didn't get it done, then I wouldn't get to achieve what I wanted to achieve.
Did you once go so far as to put meetings in your day timer or travels in your day timer?
Yes, I did.
Falsely?
I remember, yeah, falsely. I remember sending all these producers, you know, this big blurb about my film that I was in the middle of writing, and I actually booked a ticket to London before I'd even finished the script. So I was like, well, I guess I can't turn up empty-handed. Yeah, so I did a lot of things like that, the silly games I play. But yeah, it works because, you know, it is actually a deadline. You've got to be on a flight and you've got someone that's meeting you, and you can't have just a one-liner of what what your film is. You actually have to have written it.
I think that's a really brilliant idea that you made these false plans to push yourself to overcome the procrastination and to be more productive?
Yes, absolutely. I definitely thrive on a deadline. even in high school, I was always so last minute and cramming things in. Yeah, but I just sort of decided, okay, I need to be more prepared now, but I need to set really, really strong goals, like booking a plane ticket to go and meet people. Yeah, so that really helped.
I think that's fabulous. And what about, did you have fear at this point? You'd had a lot of positive affirmation about your writing over the years, but did you have any fear at this time as to whether or not you could actually fulfill this commitment to be a full-time writer?
Oh, absolutely. I struggle even to this day with imposter syndrome. Even when I got this recent film, backed with development funding, with Screen Australia, I, in my own head, was like, oh, wow, like they actually want to see some work now. They actually want me to do this film. So yeah, it is terrifying. I struggle with it every day, but you know what? I think my one lesson has been to let go of that obsessive perfectionism, because nothing is ever going to be perfect. It's just about getting the work done and knowing that, yes, there will always be edits and you can always improve things, but you've got to get it out there first.
Do you have a secret for overcoming this imposter syndrome? I think this is really common with people.
Yeah, it really is. I talk to a lot of people about it in all different fields. I think really there's no sort of magic to it, but I think it is, for me, letting go of that perfectionism and that fear, and just actually going, you know what, I do this because I love it. And if you can fill yourself with that joy, you can let go of all that, the niggling critics, that sit on your shoulder every day as a writer, and just embrace that you love it and that's why you're doing it.
I love that, to fill yourself with joy. I just absolutely love that. Well, we have to take another break, but when we come back, we're going to ask Beck about what she credits her recent long-earned success to. Welcome back. Rebecca, you've had so much success recently, and I'm so happy for you. I only have room for a couple more questions, unfortunately, but tell me how fear has motivated you in your career.
Oh, fear has been probably one of my biggest motivators. And I think, I really believe that without fear, you cannot be brave and be courageous. If you're too safe and too comfortable and just stay in your little lane, you're never going to be propelled to really achieve that big dream, and I think not all, but most successful artists all throughout history, they had their time living in a little broom cupboard and dining on baked beans, but it was that fear of like, I don't have any other choice. They sacrificed everything. And I think it is that fear that really motivates you, and it's the sacrifices you make. But the dream was bigger than any of those things. And yeah, I really, that's been a big part of my life.
What would you say your biggest fear has been in your career?
I think it's twofold. I think firstly, as an artist or as a writer, I have so many stories to tell that I always feared, oh my gosh, there's not enough time. I have so much that I want to give back to the world and, entertain and laugh and fill them with happiness and let them question things and challenge their perspective. But yeah, I think not having even one film made and not getting to share what's inside me and what I've dreamt about and felt for, the last 20 years, I think that propelled me, that fear of not being able to get my story out to the world.
Wow, I love that. What advice would you have for people who are too afraid to pursue their dreams?
I would say my biggest advice is that life is too short. If you have a dream, and I know I'm going to sound so stereotypical, but, make your life extraordinary, because that's what life is, isn't it? To wake up happy, I think in the social media clip, I referenced, that really small time director, Steven Spielberg. And he said, I dream during the day and I dream at night, and most people do, but I get to dream for a living. And I love that so much, because we can all do that, but I'm not going to lie, it takes work and resilience, and you've got to keep getting back in the ring and, hitting another few rounds forever and ever. But you've got to be obsessively compulsive and keep going and not let rejection scare you or shatter you, because you will get that one opportunity, but you have to be prepared. And I think that is what success is. And I think Oprah Winfrey actually talks a lot about that. She says, success is when preparation, and in my case, 20 years of it, meets an opportunity, because you will eventually get one. But are you prepared? Are you ready to step up to the plate and take it with both hands?
When can we expect? When can we expect to see one of your with the movie that's been greenlit? Any idea?
Well, we've got all the development funding, and we're hoping, the producers are hoping that we'll start filming mid to late next year, and then it probably won't be out on streaming or a theatrical release in the cinemas until the following year. Film takes a long time.
Yes, I bet.
It's called Love Is Not A Verb.
I
and it's a
can't wait.
beautiful rom-com, and it's very exciting. But yeah, sorry, go ahead. I just actually had one thing I wanted to say.
Yes, please.
Just in terms of the tenacity of following dreams, another piece of advice I would give, often, up and coming writers or new writers will come to me and they'll say, "Oh, Bex, I've written a script and I've approached 3 producers and, I feel a bit deflated." And I'm like, "Oh, darling, go back to your desk, write another 10 scripts, and contact another 100,000 producers, because there are so many thousands. Don't tell me you've just approached 3. You just got to keep going."
Oh, I love that so much. And unfortunately, we have to end the interview now. These things fly by.
Oh my gosh, sorry, I missed your last question.
It's fabulous. But I just want to say thank you so much for your time today, because I think your story in particular is extremely inspirational for all your hard work and tenacity. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel honored. Thank you.
And that's it for another episode of Bold Leaps. Thanks for watching. Check us out on YouTube and social media for more inspiring episodes and updates. Tell us your bold leaps in the comments. Special thanks to our sponsors. And remember, every step you take is a step toward your dreams.